would just like to say a few words about myself, a brief introduction. I'm a German-Italian artist, and I work in the field of sculpture. I studied at the Art Academy in Düsseldorf, did my Meisterschüler with Professor Didier Vermeeren. I worked in the studio of Tony Craig, quite known sculptor, English sculptor who lives in Wuppertal. And I had a few exhibitions in Germany, in Berlin, and also in the western part of Germany. And today I would like to present you my artistic research work that basically started years ago with the beginning of my studies in Düsseldorf. At that time, nobody talked about artistic research at the Art Academy in Düsseldorf. And I encountered many questions, question marks. I will explain you later on during this presentation. I base my presentation on a paper I wrote some time ago, regarding my artistic research work. So it's a bit of reading, but I will enrich it with images and video files I will show to you today. And at the end, you will have the possibility to ask questions or comment on this work. So I would like to start with an overview of my artistic processes and questions, which are the starting point of my projects on artistic research. I will also discuss artistic and scientific methods and processes that I would like to apply and develop further. This presentation, as I said, is based on one of my papers. Real things are impossible to recognize if they cannot be experienced directly or indirectly through our senses. For this reason, much of the work of science consists not only of interpreting measurement data, but also of collecting it. Through them, reality that cannot be perceived by our senses becomes visible. The influence of this transformation on artistic work is undeniable. Not only abstract feelings and thoughts, but even complex philosophical ideas have undergone a process of materialization since antiquity. Language itself shows how much we trust our senses to orient ourselves in the world, but at the same time, how much we are at their mercy. I can grasp something particularly well if I can touch it. Our senses serve to recognize reality. My artistic research focuses on the question to which extent people's relationship to their environment and their perception of it is changing as a result of ever-advancing processes of digitalization and virtualization. My interest is not only guided by aesthetic questions. I am exploring new artistic processes on the basis of current technical developments. The results lead to a change of perspective and a recontextualization, and therein lies the potential for an expanded gain in knowledge. To this end, I would like to document and evaluate current social, cultural, and ecological developments in the spirit of investigative aesthetics and make them perceptible to the senses in presentations and exhibitions. The research results directly give rise to further works. Regarding the presentation of artistic results, it is crucial to create opportunities for artistic interactions between the recipient and the work. Based on sensory knowledge, I will derive arguments for the discourse regarding the influence of human on ecology and geology in terms of the idea of an Anthropocene. This content-related and methodological orientation will now be exemplified by two selected projects. I have a first slide here showing my work in Scotland. It's about 3 or 4 years ago I started with that. Digital processes are generally not directly perceptible to humans without auxiliary devices. Through my work, I would like to artistically explore new possibilities of how digital processes can be translated into a sensually perceptible world. My work, Scotland 3 Castings, was a first step towards addressing this question. The measuring of the world, as humanity has always done it, has given way to a screening, or rather, a continuous scanning. Satellites and more recently drones deliver detailed images that are transmitted and available in real time. There is no dark spot, no unmeasured point, no place that we can't walk through virtually. Scotland's 3 castings is planned as an installation consisting of 3 objects situated in the solitude of the Scottish Highlands. The main idea is to materialize the digital scanning and measuring of the Earth's surface by satellites, which transmit and process their collected data in real time and thus make it possible to experience it with our senses. Aerial photography is the starting point for this work. Its selection depends on the geographical position. The objects developed are to be placed in the corresponding landscape. The polygonal structure of the works, visible at close inspection, will relate to digitality in these artistic processes. You can see a small bozzetto over there of one of these objects. The interaction of the various objects in the landscape will lead to a more intensive examination of the surface structures. This augmented reality is followed by a shift of our perception of nature from the intimate to the public, from the unknown to the rational known. I would like to show you also a second aspect of this work, and this is the technical aspect. What you can see here is are the tool paths needed to be calculated in a CNC milling process. And this is not obvious, this work. You can see the work in steel over there. It's usually this technique was developed for machine pieces and not for organic forms. They call it 2.5D, but this work is organic 3D. So it was necessary to push technical boundaries or boundaries in knowledge. I started to get in touch, when I had this idea, to get in touch with a big company in Germany specialized on metal work. It was FAG Kugelfischer. And they invited me to their place, and I showed them my concept. And they said, oh, you know, we have the hardware, we have the software, but we don't have the knowledge. We don't know how to do it. And then I went to RWTH Aachen, and they had a fab lab. And they said, yeah, we know that you could do it. RWTH might help you, but they won't help you because you're not student at RWTH. So you see, in artistic research, sometimes it's difficult as an artist to get into the institutions to work properly. Finally, I found a small company. It's not too small. It's about 20 people working there. It's called ASM, and Axel Seelbach, he's the director of this company. They specialized on prototyping objects for ESA and for car industry. And he was really happy and full of spirit to work on this, to expand boundaries. And now I'm collaborating with him already for several years in different projects, and you can see the last piece over there produced by that company. So I began by creating a range of bozzetti in various materials, learning how to process each one with a CNC machine. That was essential. I experienced with bronze, steel, aluminium, wood, polyester, among others. Each material has unique characteristics which require tailored approaches to machining. Based on these methods and processes, a new research project to explore the human influences in further habitats is in planning. Maybe I will find funding by Goethe Institute. It's not funded yet. I'm planning to work in the cultural region of Sicily. I'm half Sicilian, so therefore I'm related to that region. The human influence on this region has a particularly long history. In doing so, I would like to methodically reach further and apply digital processes of documentation and surveying following the idea of a field research. The focus will be on developing new methods of visualization, social, cultural, and ecological impacts of human life. This leads me to the second project I would like to present you today. I'm interested in the question of the possible structure of an in-between space in which humans equipped with artificial, perhaps virtual sensory possibilities can be enabled to perceive digital processes. For example, a virtual environment is conceivable in which digital processes can be virtualized without subjecting them to the limitation and compromises of actual materialization. In this in-between space, previous boundaries of the genres of art could be overcome. I have an example here. It's my work, a city-scale sculpture. It's just a bozzetto I developed during my years in London, and it demonstrated to me the potential of this approach. In this work, I've limited myself to one sculptural aspect, the size. What is interesting here is the shift in perception that is taking place. While abstract sculptures above a certain size can be understood as architecture, these extreme dimensions shift any references to human scale into the extreme. A city-scale sculpture becomes a virtual landscape overlaying the metropolis of London. It only completely reveals itself to the viewer in the interplay of walking through or flying over it. Other formal aspects I would like to explore in this context are movement and appearance. It is also conceivable that digital developments or processes can be derived in real time through a virtual sculpture into this in-between space and thus become perceptible to humans. I want to observe how virtualization changes the human perception of our reality. I applied this principle in my latest work. It's part of this exhibition. You see here some of the photos I took. Last year, when I climbed up to the Vernagtferner, it's a glacier in Austria, reaching over 3,000 meters in altitude, I was struck by the traces left behind in the landscape by the glacier, which is disappearing rapidly. Enormous boulders were left behind the ice, massive rocks were smoothened, and deep trenches were carved into the mountain. A multitude of photos and drawing documents these traces. Where there was once dense ice, now only bare rocks remain. An incredible process is unfolding there. Each year, the glacier loses more of its ice, meter by meter. In a vibrant metropolis like Berlin, the profound changes in the biosphere are scarcely perceptible. Here you can see a video still of the video montage I'm showing here during the exhibition. My vision encompasses a virtual sculpture that reflects the magnitude of the lost ice mass of the Vernagtferner, one of the last alpine glaciers. I aim for this lost volume that is transformed into a virtual sculpture to be observed from various vantage points. Through the overwhelming dimensions, all references to a human scale are lost. Lost volumes becomes a reality expanding the city into previously unknown dimensions, an overlapping landscape that can be fully grasped only by walking through and or flying over it. In addition to exploring new insights into the perception of intertwined sensory experiences in virtual sculpture, the central question for me is, how can urban dwellers emotionally connect with the issue of climate change by being presented with a visual representation of real processes? The first montage can be seen as video installation of this exhibition. This video projection showcases 3 views in Berlin overlaid with a 3-dimensional volume describing the lost ice mass from 2009 to 16 in its original scale. Dr. Christoph Meyer from Ludwig-Maximilian-Universität in Munich provided the crucial satellite data that has made this project possible. I can show you how it looks like. So it can be visualized in that way. It's GIS data. The multimedia presentation includes an audio collage created by my wife, Nicole Leeck. She is a musician and music theorist. She's also here today. Quite happy about that. The audio track, or the audio tracks blend recordings made at the glacier with sounds from the urban space shown, intertwining layers of perception in such a way that it becomes unclear which sounds are genuinely present at each location and which are recorded sounds from the glacier's region. We are thinking to feed the soundscape with real-time data, incorporating live sounds directly from the glacier's area. The three montages, each offering different perspectives in Berlin, yielded intriguing and surprising results. I would like to present you one as an example. So this is a video still. In the background you can see someone playing a horn. The piece is, you will hear it soon, is Ave Maria, an elegy. It feels as if the musician is performing for the dying glacier in the background, a lamento for the lost masses of ice. In the foreground, two passers-by stand still for a long moment. The one with the camera. As the music fades, they too walk away. An urban choreography. My wife has had this idea first. Consequently, we titled this clip Urban Choreography 1, an elegy for the ice. A city-scale sculpture can change the recipient's action. The encounter with this enormous sculpture reflects the encounter with the metropolis. It can crush the viewer, while from other points of view it seems sublime and moving. The way of walking through the city changes. Other people for whom this sculpture is not perceptible are not directly affected. A reaction to the changed behavior of the recipients of the sculpture, on the other hand, would be thinkable. This gives rise to social cultural questions of unimagined dimension. What role do the new possibilities of virtual reality play for the perception of the world? What social cultural consequences result from the ever-advancing interweaving of virtual realities with haptically perceivable space? I would like to explore to what extent virtual elements or realities act as mere mirages, or rather have already become part of human everyday reality. Mackenzie Walk says that the virtual forms a third nature alongside the physical cosmos and the social world. In this context, I would like to examine to what extent progressively more convincing virtual reality leads to the first and the third nature merging into one. In summary, what defines my work? I have explored various possibilities of an intermediate translation of aesthetic values. In the process, certain epistemes have been passed on in an accentuated way. I would like to show you an example. For example, in the intermediate translation of photographically documented spaces into sculptures, the clear contours merge into a more abstract formal language, which, however, visualizes the play of light and shadow as well as the vertical structure of the forest. Here, you can see an example of a sculpturally interpreted photograph. The basis was a series of photographs taken in a forest. The vertical structures are still clearly visible, and the play of light and shadow becomes more intense through the abstraction. The spatial perception of my walk through sculptures evokes corresponding impressions and feelings in the viewer, without providing clear references to a forest in terms of any figuration. These shifts in perspective are crucial to advance my work of artistic research. To conclude, the presented projects show a crucial aspect for my work: artistic and scientific interdisciplinarity. In the realization of my research project, I strive for a lively exchange and cooperation with scientists from other disciplines. Collaboration with the natural sciences, with engineers, seems to be a natural fit, although cultural and social science methods and findings are necessary to process artistic midterm results with the aim of developing further key questions and new approaches. To mention just one last aspect, I understand my own artistic practice as a field of investigation. It is widely accepted that the subjects and objects of field research in the ethnographic research are closely related and interdependent. Exploring how the method of field research can be methodically used in the context of artistic research is another obvious research project. So you see, still a lot to do. Thanks. Yeah, if you have questions or comments, I'm glad to answer, if I can. Michael, maybe somebody could assist me, Sabine, with the microphone. This one? Michael.
Schön, danke. Just a question on this pace here.
Yeah.
Maybe you explained this, but I missed it. But why did you decide to CNC machine that rather than just say create a mold and then finish the surface somehow? Was there something about the CNC, because you'd need a 5-axis or more machine to do that? Was it simply that sort of problematic, or was it something about the surface that you can achieve with CNC rather than molding?
Indeed. So there are many things I should mention now, but I won't because of the time, but I can mention the most important ones. So first of all, I always search the most direct way. So in here I have data, and I translate data into a 3-dimensional form. And this is already quite complex thing to do. And then I would like just to do a direct transformation, possibly. And sure, you can print it, but there are limitations too. I went to RWTH Aachen, and the limitations are size and material. But this is something I should do in future if I get hand on a proper printer, because if you do it in plastic, it is. I'm a sculptor, so you know it's nothing material from material side. I was never happy with this. I tried it a few times in plastic, but I never was happy about it, because in here you have several layers of aesthetics. So if you go far away, you see the basic shape, and you see that the light reflection works in a certain manner. If you walk nearer to the sculpture, you see the polygonal structure of it. And if you walk even further and you look at it really next to it, you can see the carving of the CNC machine. So I'm highly interested in these traces of production. But nevertheless, printing is a viable way. I just need to get hands on a proper printer. Maybe at TU. Okay. Yeah, thank you very much for your comments.